Welcome back to the State and Local Sports Show with Mark Tennis, co-founder and editor of CalHighSports.com. I knew we'd be talking basketball today. I didn't know we'd be talking about the nation's #1 team losing in the Open Division semifinals last night. Pinewood of Los Altos Hills beat St. Mary's 72-69 in the NorCal semis at Delta College. I think a shocking result to even the biggest of Pinewood fans, you know, if they're being completely honest with themselves. It ends St. Mary's 57-game winning streak. It ends their bid to become the first team to win 2 Open Division titles. You know, neither of us were there to see it in person, but what is your, I guess, first reaction? What was that first thing you thought to yourself when you saw the result from last night?
The first thing I thought to myself was trying to figure out if it was the biggest upset in the history of California girls basketball, and trying to put it in a certain kind of perspective because I knew people would ask. And you can pretty much say it's right about at the top. It's pretty close to the top. It wasn't a state final, and there was a state final in 2011 when Oak Ridge beat Long Beach Poly, and Long Beach Poly had won was going for their 5th straight state title. That was huge because it was a state final. But if you keep in mind, St. Mary's was an undefeated team that was #1 in the state and #1 in the nation, and we have had a couple of teams historically that had won the year before, were going for a repeat, and were close to the top of the national polls and lost. But they lost to another really good team. It wasn't that they lost to a team like Pinewood. That's not to dismiss Pinewood that much. They were #7 in the state coming into the game. But Pinewood had lost by 19 points to Mitty of San Jose in the Central Coast Section Open Division Finals. And remember, they lost a game to Brookside Christian.
They did. Buzzer beating 3 from Ari McDonald.
Yes, and Brookside Christian lost 109-41 to Miramani. So that just gives you a sense of how really improbable this upset was. It was a big upset.
Well, and after St. Mary's won its quarterfinal game over Carondelet of Concord, Tom Gonzalez, their coach, said, you know, they might be the best three-point shooting team in Northern California. Now, I mean, I believe that, but maybe I should have taken more stock. He's not one of those coaches that will lie about an opponent's abilities. If he doesn't think someone is not that good, he probably won't say they're that good. I don't know if he thought they were going to hit 16 threes at a 55% clip. And when I think about that, it takes me to the laws of probability sometimes. The anomalies happen. I think as good as St. Mary's is, for any team to win 57 consecutive games and do what they did, it is an anomaly, as talented as you are. And so it's one of those where it came back around the other way and very painful for them. And, you know, they lose 4 seniors, Kat Tudor going to Oregon State, Michael Caton to Nebraska, Sydney Fidal staying in town to go to Pacific, and Angel Johnson still undecided. But, I mean, just a complete shock. And, you know, I know that the St. Mary's system does kind of like, not quite the same, but like the Warriors, a great defense will allow other teams to get their shots. I don't think anyone thought they were going to hit 55% from 3. I mean, that would make Steph Curry blush.
No, it was crazy. I mean, 16 made three-pointers. St. Mary's only had 6. If this game was a little bit different and Pinewood missed even 3 or 4 of those shots, and St. Mary's made 1 or 2 of those, or more of theirs, they win by 10 or 15 points. So the three-pointers obviously has changed the game at the pro level. And you know, this game proves that when you make a lot of three-pointers, it can give any team a chance. And Pinewood got a little luck. One of their best players got hurt late in the game, and if she got hurt early in the game, they don't have the depth to survive. They only played 6 players the whole game, so any kind of big foul trouble or an injury like they had that was earlier in the game, they would have been in a lot more trouble, and they probably wouldn't have won. But all those things, you know, didn't come into play. St. Mary's, you know, didn't play maybe their best game, but I thought, you know, Coach Gonsalves credited Pinewood for the win, and he said we didn't play that badly, and neither one of us were there, which is another indication of why it was an upset. If it was a big enough game, and we thought St. Mary's wasn't going to be in trouble, we both would have probably gone, but we didn't go. So, but that's another story. So it was just a huge game. Congrats to Pinewood for the win, and we'll see what they can do against Miramani on Saturday.
Now, my last thought on that is we've been talking about, I mean, when you have the national #1 team in your area, you talk about them throughout the year. We've talked about, you know, where is their place in history going to be? How are they going to be stacked up to the California powers of past, of national powers past? And you very aptly said, you know, it's one of those where you have to wait until you see the final product of where they end up. In this case, you know, 1 Open Division title, you make it to the NorCal semis the next year, but this shocking upset. Any kind of clue about how this team that was on the precipice of unprecedented greatness but didn't quite get there will be remembered 7, 8 years from now?
Again, it depends on how the season plays out. If Miramani goes on and wins the state title and finishes undefeated, they will go down as one of the higher grade ranked teams. And St. Mary's probably, even with this one loss, would be ranked second. Now, if Chaminade goes on and wins, and they have 4 losses, or Long Beach Poly, then St. Mary's final ranking goes down to 3rd or 4th. If their final ranking is second, their all-time kind of ranking is still going to be pretty high. If their ranking goes down to 3rd or 4th, not as high.
Now, with St. Mary's lost, the lone team still alive from the records coverage area, Manteca boys basketball. They beat Archbishop Reardon, I think I say that wrong every time, from San Francisco last night. NorCal Division III semifinals, so they are left. Their gift is facing the Open Division defending champion, Bishop O'Dowd of Oakland, a team that lost a lot of players, including Yvonne Robb to Cal. It takes a while, even for premier basketball programs like that, to reload. They came to the state playoffs at the 500 record, but they went to Weston Ranch's house, an excellent team, medium school team, and beat them by 8 points. And Manteca has to deal with that now, a team that can shoot with length. What are your thoughts on just a team that wins the Open Division title and the bracket of champions above the rest of the brackets of champions and sliding down a couple divisions? I mean, do you believe in this kind of year-by-year basis, or is it too much of a backslide for a team that was just at the pinnacle of California high school basketball?
Yeah, they were, but they definitely were not an Open Division team this year. They were in a tough league, and they're in the same league as Moreau, and they're in the same division as Moreau, and Moreau is an Open Division team, so it clearly couldn't be in there in front of Moreau. They're a young team that's getting a lot better. A lot of their losses were to higher-ranked teams. There's a lot of teams in Southern California that are very similar, like Harvard Westlake of North Hollywood. They're in that. They're kind of like Bishop O'Dowd. There are a lot of teams. Reardon was only 12 and 17, and they barely lost to Manteca because they're from the West Catholic League. So there's a lot of teams that kind of fall into that. They're in a great league. They don't make their open divisions. They slide down into the divisions, and they do really well.
This is a little bit more when I covered the northern section, but I've always thought by comparison, Bay Area teams, sometimes the teams from the valley, from up north, have just amazing body control. They're a little bit smoother and more refined in their game, and that's not a rule. It's more of what I've seen a lot in the state playoffs. Yeah, when you look at the Open Division Final Four, as Joe Davis from the Sac Bee pointed out, 3 of the 4 teams left were Modesto Christian, Sheldon, and Sac High, along with De La Salle, which is in the NorCal final. How do you see it, I guess, not necessarily section by section, but Sacramento area, Northern California, and the Bay Area, and their comparison? Has there been any kind of growth from the teams further east at all? I mean, how do you see that whole scenario?
I think the depth of the teams in the Sac Joaquin section has gotten a lot better in recent years, and you certainly saw that with Sheldon this year and Jesuit this year in Division I. Even Wood Creek in Division I was very good. They weren't even in the NorCal Division I field, which who knows what would have happened if they had gotten in. I think you also see the depth in the section office hasn't even realized how good their teams are, because they don't have a process for getting extra teams into the Division I field when they take 3 teams in the Open Division. There were 3 teams in the Open Division this year from the Sac Joaquin section, and Jesuit would have been a 4th if they were eligible. Jesuit would have been moved up too. So the depth is where you see the difference. In the past, you'd always have 1 or 2 teams from around the section that could play with the top teams in the Bay Area, but now it's getting to be like the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th best teams can play with the best teams in the Bay Area.
Now it's officially spring sports season. We've seen early on Linden softball has a promise. They beat St. Mary's in a non-league home game. And Mark Tennis does a weekly column for us. And their coach, Mark Miller, he's up into his 70s now. He's Linden's football and softball coach. A guy, as we were just talking about outside the office, just loves coaching. If you could kind of tell us about what you wrote about this week in that rare combo of football and softball.
It is a rare combo, and I just was interested in hearing Coach Miller talk about why he likes to coach both sports. And he just loves the idea of teams coming together and focusing on a common goal, no matter if it's girls softball players or football players. He finds that similarity very fun and very exciting, and that's what he likes to be a part of, focusing in on their goals and and what they want to do, and their and competing and all the kind of things that coaches do. And he likes that part. But on the other hand, he says there's a lot of differences. There's obviously football way more intense than softball, and the thing he likes about softball players is he says as soon as the game's over, within 2 minutes the girls have forgotten all about it, but the boys, they stew on it all day and all night.
Well, take a look for that column in the Record and on StocktonPreps.com later this week. HighSports.com, your Gold Club membership, state record books, all of your insider content, less than $20 a year, less than $2 a month, a great deal. Mark, thanks for joining us as always. I didn't think we were going to be talking about this today, but
Yes.
basketball is crazy.
It is crazy. Thanks, Thomas.